Hello, good morning everybody. This is J-Dub here. It's August the 11th. There's been a lot of noise and news going on out in the market about the possible end of the recession. Markets have been doing well here over the past couple of weeks, and I just want to talk to you about some of the risks that are out there. As a matter of fact, I think there are some significant risks. Things look rosy and peachy on the surface, but below the surface there is a significant iceberg looming, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. I want to go ahead here. I'm in the bathroom. And right by the tub, I'm going to go ahead and mark the water line here in the tub and get the water going in just a second. I'm out here in the hallway now, and you can hear the tub running there in the bathroom. I want to tell you a quick story about this inflation versus deflation. Back on January the 22nd, 2008. There was, before the markets opened, the Fed came out and announced a 75 basis point emergency rate cut. Bank of Canada came out, had a cut as well as a coordinated effort. And this is in the time when oil was on its march upward towards $140 a barrel. Also, rice was the big story at that time. If you remember, there was a lot of riots and such going on over in Asia because the price of rice had increased dramatically. As a matter of fact, it had gone up about 50% over the previous 6 to 9 months. And Walmart was even in talks about rationing their rice supply. So if you were involved, with the price of rice, that was the type of environment we were in. Well, amidst all of this chaos and the Fed coming out and cutting rates, I was reading an economic report, and that economist said that the Fed was concerned about deflation. And here's a guy that went to school and studied that, obviously knows a lot more about it than I do, and amidst all of this chaos, deflation came about in the modern term. And I never thought of deflation in modern times. I always thought about it, connected it to the depression in the 30s in the United States, perhaps the deflation in Japan here over the past 20 years. And so it really struck me, why would he make a point of talking about deflation? So I embarked upon a 60-day review of just going through the website, learning as much as I could. Long story short, a lot of people think of it in terms of rising prices as inflation and lowering prices as deflation, and those are really just effects and not causes of inflation and deflation. The thing that I came across that really made the most sense to me was in terms of money and credit. As money and credit expand, you have inflation. As money and credit contract, you have deflation. And it makes sense. If you really think about it, money is created through our fractional reserve system. And an example of that, you're probably familiar with it, but let's say Fred, we're a small economy, Fred's got $1,000 of bills. And I'm a banker, he deposits with me. So, am I going to sit on his cash? No, I'm going to want to loan it out. I may hold back, sit on 10% of it, I may sit on $100. But if you need a loan, I'm going to loan you, let's say, $900. Well, you can see I've given Fred a credit, or an IOU of $1,000. I've given you $900 of cash. I'm sitting on $100. In that economy, what was $1,000 has now become $1,900. It's grown. And so as you spend your money, it filters its way back into the banking system, and it gets loaned back out. If you fast forward that calculation, money would actually multiply 10 times. That original $1,000 would become a $10,000 economy. And that's what's been happening for the past 20 years in the United States, is money and loans have been taken out and created. The economy expanded dramatically. But we've just gotten to that tipping point where people are up to their eyeballs in debt. They've had enough. They're having a hard time paying off the bills that they've had and meeting their obligations. And so now we're starting to see the effects of deflation. In order for a loan to occur, you got to have a bank willing to lend, and you got to have a borrower willing to borrow. And it seems clear to me we don't really have much of that now like what we did in the past. As a matter of fact, money is actually being destroyed right now. Where money was being created before through the lending process, money is now being destroyed because you have people defaulting, which destroys money. If our $1,900 economy, if you don't pay back that $900, our economy automatically shrinks back down to $1,000 very quickly. So you can see when you default, that money is destroyed. And let's say you pay back that $900 to me and you make good on your obligation. Well, that money is destroyed unless I go out and lend it out to somebody else. But if I'm afraid to lend it out, or if nobody else wants to take it, as people pay back their debts, money also gets destroyed. And that's the environment that we're in right now. And so even though there's talks of us getting out of the recession, the markets have been doing very well, there are significant risks out there. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. One way to think about risks, or that I've used to think about this situation, is with regards to the bathtub. So let me step back in here and talk to you about that real quick. Okay, if you remember, before I turned on the water, and right there's the water line, and the water is significantly below. It looks to be about 6 inches below the water line, but yet the water's still running. And you see, that's exactly what's going on with the economy. I'm going to go ahead and shut that off. I did go ahead and pull the drain, but that is what's going on with the economy right now, in that the Fed is furiously pumping money into the economy. And he was like that water spout there, pouring water into the economy, pumping money in. But the problem is there's a drain that's been pulled on the bottom side of this economy, and that's the money that's getting destroyed, like what I was talking about. People defaulting, people paying back their loans is effectively destroying money. That's why the Fed knows that. That's why they're out there furiously pumping money into it. They're trying to soften that blow. But do you think the Fed is going to pump enough money in order to prevent deflation? Probably not, because that has another whole kind of serious consequences. So they're going to try to pump enough in to kind of slow the process down. But as we're probably going to find out here over the next several months, it's going to become a cascading effect that's going to snowball and pick up steam, and it's going to be very nasty. So that gets back to the risks I was telling you about. It may seem like things are rosy and that there's a green light to go ahead and start investing, but actually I want to tell you the opposite. Now would be a great time to head to the sidelines and play it safe. Because if you remember last fall, everything dropped in price, and the only thing that didn't drop in price was the U.S. dollar, the value of the U.S. dollar. That's a bit more technical than I want to get here. But think about it. If I were to tell you there's a $100 bill laying out in the middle of the road, and would you want to go pick it up? Some of you maybe think, sure, I'd run out in the middle of the road, pick up that $100 bill. That could buy a lot of pizzas. Some of you may be thinking, okay, what's the catch here? There's got to be a catch. And sure enough, there is. I didn't tell you what road it was laying in the middle of. If that $100 bill was laying in the middle of a country road and there was only 1 or 2 cars that drove up and down that road every hour, I would go out and pick that up in a heartbeat every day of the week, because the risk is fairly small relative to the reward that I gain. The reward is that $100 bill. The risk of getting hit, I can dodge a few cars every hour. That's not a big deal. But let's take that $100 bill. Let's place it in the middle of a busy 8-lane interstate. Would you want to go pick it up now? Sure, some people could walk out in the middle of that busy 8-lane interstate. They could pick up the $100 bill and they could make it safely back to the side of the road. But more people are going to get hit. As they get hit by a car, they're going to go to the hospital. They're going to incur hospital bills that are going to be more than the $100 bills they picked up on the road. And that's exactly the type of environment that we're in right now, is that $100 bill is out in the middle of a busy 6-lane, 8-lane interstate. It's in the middle of a busy road. So sure, you can go out there and try to grab it if you want. It's an opportunity, but to me it would make more sense that we try to grab those good opportunities. And you may be able to grow 5% or 10%, but is that worth the risk of dropping 30%, 40%, 50%? Who knows, 70%? Is it worth the risk? To me, it doesn't seem worth it. But to you, that's something you'll have to decide. It is tough to sit on the sidelines while you watch all the markets going up and you're thinking about the lost opportunity costs. But it seems very likely, it appears very likely that there is a possible collapse coming. And why not go ahead and head for the sidelines now instead of in the middle of it when emotions and fear start to take over? All you're doing is just sitting on the sidelines for a while. If nothing happens, a year or so, then you go ahead and enter back in. But if something does happen, you've provided yourself a little bit of that protection of not being involved with the markets as they drop. So I want to thank you for listening.